They look like we're the time to school. So like, this, that, and the other, well, actually, no, they really have like this. You know, it's safe for bacon.
It's just about
But
everybody.
it's an accusation.
Yeah.
Big brother's everything.
It's 8 of us here.
We're doing Tennessee ball. All the higher education, SEC, state, federal, all of Tennessee. We're behind. Way behind. Some parts of it are way behind.
I've got Verizon filter. Stopped a phone call.
It did what?
Somebody called me and stopped it.
Uh-huh.
I don't know where it's from, so I didn't recognize it, but it stopped it.
I downloaded an app, I think you told me about it, and it stops a lot of my junk calls, but not all of them,
I
Danny
still
man.
got some of them. I've been getting one that calls, they called out of Lafayette, somebody's number out of Lafayette, because they had Lafayette come across and I said, well, and I answered it. That old guy wanting about the health or something, see your back brace or something. I just, oh boy, I said, I know who it is as soon as he started talking. I go, what? Who? What'd you say? I get him to repeat it. As he's repeating it, he should
I hate those calls.
I ain't seen a lot, that's what we had, we got missed too.
can't hardly understand what you're saying.
It missed the house.
It's about that time.
Okay, now 6 o'clock. Try to get started, I believe we have all of our committee members here. Like we have a full house, not missing anyone. Appreciate the visitors that we have with us tonight as well. Call the parent committee to order. First order of business is to review the minutes from May 6th meeting. I saw one minor correction toward the end, where it says items to be sent to committee. Jewel, tables for upstairs courtroom looking about $200 per table. The style is like an election. That was lecture, L-A-C-T-U-R-E. And we do have them if y'all want them. They're lined up back there. We just haven't gotten them put up here yet to take a look at them. They're nice heavy tables. I think they'll match this and work out real well. Were there any other corrections to the minutes? Did anyone notice anything? Entertain a motion to approve. Ms. Moore makes a motion, Ms. Carter makes a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Yes, sir. Mayor, got anything for us tonight, much?
Most of everything I got is something that's already committed, it's just update. I did get some numbers from Johnson Controls tonight, earlier today, and haven't been able to go into too much because of the tornadoes this morning. But I do have some numbers that go to the Parks and Recreation Committee later this evening on the park. And it does have some numbers in there for courthouse windows, and I was wrong, it's 293,000. What the number was. So, but like I said, most everything I've got is something that's already committed, it's just updates. I will say, of course, most people should know or already know is about the, I'm gonna say the tornado, given what I've seen, and I think National Weather Service probably won't agree with us when it's over. And it goes from one side of the county to the other, because I've been having the highway department and the EMA give me updates. Highway department's been updating me on the roads where they've got it. I've got a map on highlight, and it's almost right through almost the entirety of the county from one side to the other, and somewhere there's damage. So I know I got it up on Taylortown Lane. It took us a while to get out my driveway block and Taylortown block, but the highway department was already on their ways, and some of the employees already saw the funnel come down in that area, so they were there within minutes, but they were already heading that way. So I I would like to thank our highway department, EMA and everything, I know they've been very responsive in trying to get the roads cleared out, make sure that everyone's okay. I haven't heard of any injuries or major injuries so far, it mainly just seems to be a lot of trees down and minor property damage, so very thankful there. It came down, it looks like it touched down once about 35 yards from my house, so very, very thankful. We probably got, I told somebody earlier, 30 to 40 trees down, but looking at it being starting to count, it's probably somewhere between 50 to 60 on our property that's down.
You know, it's pretty hard too. It seemed like we just kind of skipped over town and landed over there on that side, but, it's major cleanup in some places for some people. We also had, the water department, a few of their guys got out with backhoe trying to clear some of the roads. They came through and helped down our way, and really appreciate their help. They got the lane there beside my house open and went back on further down. Don't know how long they worked at it, but they worked at it a while this morning for sure. But I think if they come and actually look and assess the damage, they can tell by the direction of the trees, straight line winds just lay them all straight. But when things are going every which way and they're twisted out, they know that it was, rotation, and it was, documented by radar. I mean, we were under a warning, so I don't think there's any doubt. It's just whether it's a 0 or a 1 or what level, it's pretty low level. I'm sure they're going to say.
The other place I was talking about on my property, if you get kind of right in the middle, it's a clearing now, it wasn't before. And you stand in the middle and start turning, each direction you turn, there's a tree facing that way. So it's not all one direction, it's a whole lot of different directions.
And that's the way, what I saw. I went out both ends of the county, this morning, and it looked, I've worked a lot of tornadoes with damage assessments and things, and there's no doubt in my mind it's a tornado, not for this place. We did get our budget hearings underway and started, had a successful, night last night, and, do you have anything else, Mayor? Am I jumping in front of you, or was it?
No, that was it. Like I said, most of the stuff I got are just updates on things that are already in committees, and I'll reach out to those committee chairmen and tell them updates I've done. We'll discuss it as we go forward.
Kind of go over this list of things we've had in past times and kind of see where we're standing with this forward.
Does the alarm still work, or did it work?
The siren,
The siren did not work. We had a problem with it. The company was supposed to come and look at it 2 weeks ago, and so far they still haven't come out. Director Beatty followed up with him today and sent him it's just a terse email, letting him know it did not work yet again. Because there was a question about the last time we had a tornado. I think it actually came through the northeastern part of Wilson County, kind of skirting near us, and then in Smith County. There was some question about whether or not it operates that far out. They were supposed to come look at it because nobody could remember it ever going off lately on its Thursday test. They were supposed to come out and look at it.
I listened for it.
And so far they haven't, so we're following up with them to make sure that they do get out and look at it this time.
the emergency, the system, where they call you.
Oh, yeah,
Work, I got to
that
do work
one,
on that.
that one,
That's what.
we got that too.
Mine rang off before.
That's when it was in western Sumner County as it was headed towards us, I got video of it.
Ours never just came through late.
I signed up for that.
Man, thing was touching the ground, it was tornado.
I signed up for the notification to the sheriff's department too, and I received the notification, text and email, so it did work. It was a little bit later than when it hit us, but it did work.
Oh, I got 2 phone calls and texts. Did too. Right now, we're not having any luck with Fifth District Commissioner vacancy. I don't know if any of y'all have tried to talk to anybody out there. I went through the list, I've exhausted anybody I know to ask. So please try to help us with that. Have we had anybody call the mayor's office?
I had somebody tell me that they had somebody that was interested, was gonna contact me and ask questions about it, but as of yet, they haven't called me.
I did, if print out the map of the fifth district, where people were asking kind of where the borders of it are. If you want one to look at, you're welcome to it. Plus, it's also online on the website. If you want to go there to find it. We did do the resolution on asking TCAT to add meat processing to their curriculum. I forwarded that to the commission chairman over in Granger County, and also sent a copy of it to TCAT and our state senator and House and representative. I don't know that it'll do a bit good, but we did it, and I thank you for your support on that. We had talked and had some discussion about the engineering firm on the sidewalk. I'm sorry.
Is that place up and running out here?
Yes.
I hadn't been by there, I'll never get that way, but.
I think they are. They don't have a sign up, they don't have a number on the building, but they can't understand why people can't find it, but anyway. So I think they're running because they're complaining that people can't find it, so there's something going on there. But yeah, it's something. Sidewalk civil engineer, we talked, I think, times past about that.
Yeah,
You want to touch on that, where we're at on it?
Yeah, we reached out to, Cliff reached out to the engineering firm the highway department had been using several times, never really got any solid response on that. I talked to Bill at the highway department, also Tommy at the water department, and Cliff again, and talking around us, we decided to contact Big Ten Engineering in Lafayette. The water department uses them, been very happy with their services so far. They also assisted us on the multimodal grant, free of charge. They kind of looked at it and helped us with our application on that for sidewalks going from where the streetscape ended up to the 2510 intersection there by Citizens Bank and the Mexican Grilled Cheese. So we reached out to them, and I did have a meeting with Evan White, who's the president of Big Ten Engineering, and he's going to get together proposal to us to do a master plan, a 5-year master plan of doing sidewalk replacements in the downtown area, and we kind of update it every year as we go. And we did put it in the budget in the 111, we set aside $40,000 in the governor's local support grant to do the first year, and Evan looked at it and he thought that would do a pretty good amount of sidewalks in the downtown area, so. We did talk to them, they are willing to do it, so hopefully I'm gonna move forward with them.
I think it would be good if we could get a lot of these various departments using one engineer firm, as long as they're satisfied with what they're doing. Probably a good move, since water, we've been using them and they've done a great job with us for water. To try to even possibly, I don't know, do some of these other miscellaneous things for them. We'll let everybody know the roof project up at the middle school is finished and looks really great. We had a chance to go by there and take a look at it.
It's good.
And they got, I think, finally got the grass in there, everything sewed down, that landscaping issue, all
I think
that's
so.
taken care of.
Grass looks, I think there's only one, the only issue I've seen is the little sidewalk that busted in the courtyard of the school.
That'll be good.
That's all I've seen.
It looks really good.
He did a
Proud
really
to
good
have
job.
that done.
And it's not leaking.
That's good. It didn't leak last night. I
Well,
don't think
it didn't leak. We had one leak the first week there, but after that, they found out and got it patched.
We did
Buckets.
get the redistricting committee appointed. I'm sure as soon as we get the numbers, we'll be also ready to go with that. We've had, myself and Mr. Paxton have some preliminary conversations about what we need to be looking at particularly. And I know that we got some figures, the state received some figures so that they can, they know how much growth we've had statewide, whether we're gonna lose or gain representatives, House representatives. Tennessee is not, we were pretty close, I understand, pretty close to gaining another House seat, but was just a little off of that cusp. A lot of states actually dropped House seats There were a few that gained. I know North Carolina gained, Texas gained, California lost, Oregon gained. Most of the gains seem to be in the southern states. The losses were in the Rust Belt or the West Coast, where people were fleeing,
moving out.
living. Yeah. I know New York, I believe New York lost
Mm-hmm.
4. I think.
Moving out from up there too.
Every street.
Yeah, so, from the preliminary figures that we've received, we think statewide, there will probably be 3, maybe 4 state house districts additional. So where that makes us, where those new districts will be, you know, I'm sure there are people talking about that at the state level that we haven't been privy of. Most of those gains, again, were in the Nashville area. And since we are always the one that's on the cusp between places, you know, I think we could go any number of directions. We may stay exactly where we are, but it wouldn't surprise me if we don't have a change, at least in our house district, possibly, probably not the Senate district. We just won't know. But they're working on that now. Of course, we know where our biggest, we think we know where our biggest growth areas were and what districts are going to be. So we're kind of looking at what we may be able to do if it holds true. So that's, as soon as we get those, right now they're telling us the end of September is the earliest we'll have them. We have to have them set in place and approved by this body by the end of the year. And if we don't meet in December, that means November, so that's only gonna give us like 2 months to make this happen. So that's one reason we're trying to get out ahead of it. The only other thing I had to just, I don't know exactly, I know we've been working on it diligently, the personnel policy, are we?
We're still waiting on the wage study results to come in, because we're gonna package it all together, and it'll be one thing as we submit it to the personnel committee. Send it out to the department heads and county officials, and they're supposed to respond by April 30th with any comments or changes. We did receive some, we did make a few changes here and there, but they were very minor, just really kind of clarification issues. But as far as the actual body of the personnel policy without the wage study, I think we've got it in position to submit it. Mr. Beller signed off on it, which is one of the requirements of changing the personnel policy. So he's been very involved in the rewrite of it. So he feels good about where it's at. So once we get the wage study, can incorporate that, we'll submit it to the personnel committee and get that going. We're also looking at making some changes to the purchasing policy. We contacted CTAS, and Mr. Bell is also assisting that also. But that's going to be a few months down the road. Right now, we're focusing on the personnel policy.
I had a question for the mayor. You're on the board with the road commissioner and someone else on the roads, aren't you?
It's me, Mr. Scruggs, and Bob Joe Lewis.
I know last year or two, we've been talking about that place up in Gravely. And 2 different times, the road commissioners told me it would be in the paper the next week. It ain't never showed up yet. Do you know where that's laying or what it is?
The engineering firm submitted documentation, everything for it, the plans, but what they submitted was actually wrong. So they're having to go back and redo it. It was gonna be ready to go out to bid, but they submitted, the specs and everything were wrong on it. It was not what was submitted to them by the highway department, so we're going back and redoing that. Once we get that corrected, then it's gonna be bid out. They hoped that already had it bid out, be working on it, but that documentation is incorrect.
I know that Bill said he had the money to do it.
Yeah, like I said, he was ready to go ahead and bid it, start getting to work on it, but when that document came in and he started reviewing it, the specs were wrong, it was just incorrect. They don't know if it's got him confused with somebody else or what it is, but it was just wrong, so he's asking to go back and correct it and then submit it back to us, and then get a review it, and hopefully get it set out to bid soon.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it was supposed to be like a 3 foot high concrete wall, and it wound up being 5 foot high or something. It's not
Yeah.
quite what it needed to be, the way the engineers had drawn it.
I think
It's
it
gonna
was-
cost like twice as much or
Well,
3
yeah,
times as
maybe.
much.
Wouldn't be any sense making it 5 foot high.
Evidently, he asked them to engineer it, whatever they sent in, he didn't look at it to notice that,
Yeah.
send it out. And one of the contractors, I think, actually called him and said, you really want us to build a 5 foot high wall? And that was, I think, when we realized that there was a problem with it and had to send it back.
I believe it was not only just too tall, I believe it also wasn't long enough either.
Yeah,
Because they had made it a certain length, and I think they made it higher but shortened it, and that's not what's submitted to them, so they're going to redo it.
like we say, some engineering firms are a little bit better than others. That's all I have. Commissioners, do y'all have anything that got questions about or think that we need to be looking at or need to look at, have one of the committees to look at?
The wage study, what do you think that'll be, some extra on that?
They sent some preliminary numbers earlier today at 218, but I've been at the house dealing with the tornado stuff, so, and they asked me to me and my staff to look it over and then set up a meeting with them, so they did submit the preliminary. There's still some more documentation that they want to go over this initial report with us first, and then they're going to submit, kind of go back and do the final one and then submit it. So hopefully it'll be within the next month.
Since this Johnson control on the windows in the courthouse was so high, should we get an updated bid on the people that did it some years back?
If that's the will of the committee, if you want to bring it up, you've got a committee meeting scheduled.
Not this month.
Okay, I'm sorry, not the bid.
Got economic development
That's
this month,
okay.
but do it next month and.
I would say at this point, there's just been a couple of companies that have asked to look at it. There's not actually been a bid that specs or anything like this.
Probably
I
next,
think that's where we're kind of going around the bush. We need to actually put some figures and specs. The problem is, this is a historical building, so you gotta have somebody sign off that we can't use this window, we've gotta take it out. That's been the issue. And I thought that's what they could do, but apparently that is incorrect.
well, you don't think an architect that specializes in historical restorations would be qualified to make that sign off?
They can, but as of yet, nobody's looked at it.
Marvin Windows did, and that was an architect that came with it.
Well, then submit the report and get the specifications, and we'll put it out to bid, because it's over $10,000, so it has to go to bid.
Well, I know it has to go bid, but they had written specs for it, and it was an architect that came from Atlanta that specializes in historical replications, and these are approved, they've been used in the White House, the Capitol building, and all over the country. They're one of the few companies that build historically accurate windows, so that was why we went with them, and that's why none of the window companies want to deal with them, because they have to be custom made. And, but,
That'd be custom made anyway.
yeah. I mean, there's no way. I mean, you know, and if they're gonna make them, they're gonna make them so that they're, what they had spec was, they said the big problem with these is they're not round top windows. They're not a half round that you would normally have. That round comes down. So that is another little architecturally significant detail to it that they were going to have to incorporate in the windows, and also trying to keep the same look to these. What they had shown us, what we looked at, was a double pane window with low E glass. But if you looked at this building with these windows or the new windows, it looked the same. You know, other than some windows have wavy glass, some don't have glass, and now we have some windows with no glass. But that was their historical replication division of Marvin windows.
Making them is one thing, putting them in is another. That's gonna be expensive.
Yeah. Ms.
Their bid back, they did give us a bid, did they not?
They gave us an estimate, I wouldn't call it a bid, it was a quote, an estimate, whatnot. We had them do it by floors, they did all the windows on the first floor, these, and all the windows on the second, and these balcony windows and things, in case we wanted to split it over 2 years. We had talked about not having so much of a burden in 1 year, is to try to maybe do half of it 1 year, half of it the next year. But yeah, they contacted me numerous times since then, wanting to know where we were, wanting to know if we need an update, so I'm sure we can get that.
Well, then please have them contact my office, because I don't have anything from them.
Yes.
Is there any more discussion about actually the election commission moving into the courthouse here, and that big criminal was supposed to rent a room there or something, or what is?
I heard something about the election commission, but other than that, I couldn't hear you.
I said, there's any more discussion about the election commission moving here, and I think it was also like mid-Cumberland or one of our agencies was going to try to get one officer downstairs. or
Well, they were gonna move here, and about the time they were gonna actually make use of the space is when COVID hit, and they shut down all their offices, so they didn't use this, and they were only gonna do that until it looked like, well, they got confirmation they were gonna get the pre-K program back, because they had lost it for a little while. Once they got the pre-K program back, they didn't need this space, they went back into their previous space. So they're out of here, they're not coming back, they're in the new space. And as far as the election commission, they had contacted me and said they had some issues here they needed us to resolve before they moved over. They then voted that they didn't want to move here. I asked for them to give me a list of what needs to be fixed, they will address it. One of the things they talked about was ADA. When I got to the office this morning, I went back and looked, and we did find an ADA file. However, it was from the lawsuit that went against a bunch of counties, including this one. They had a bunch of ADA improvements that had to be done to the courthouse, and their plaintiff's attorney signed off on it and said the changes that were done met the ADA. So from my point of view, it looks like all the ADA work has been done. It was done and finished in 2010. As far as some of the other issues, I already had Tri-County up here, we looked at the broadband, that's why if you've looked at your thing, you have a really good signal up there now, that's what this little UFO looking thing is, that's an access point for our internet, that's why we're able to stream the meetings here now without any technical issues. If you notice last few meetings, we haven't had any technical issues with that, because we have a real good internet connection now. We're supposed to come back and also make sure that we have it in the rest of the building downstairs. In the two wings, it's a problem, because we have the walls, we're not, those two side offices, there's that courtroom over there, and then the offices over here, we're not original with the building, so the original walls were there, and they were built onto them, they're so thick, they were cutting down on the signal, so they were gonna install 2 different access points downstairs to improve the signal there, so that should do the broadband. Other than that, I have not got any other indication of what the problem is. I'm gonna reach out to them again and say, hey, what is it we need to do now? I think we're pretty well along, we're a lot further along than we were before.
We feel like that by the end of the year, we will have the things done that need to be done and everything. That's kind of our target date, is to have this year to get done. Mr. Paul.
When you contacted me about Judge Linville wanting to do DUI classes here, is that fixing to take place?
Right now, the gym is waiting for approval from the state, because he has to get approved by the state to go ahead and do this. He's already filed all his documentation and everything, he's got his insurance and everything put together. We did sign the lease with the exact same terms as mid-Cumberland, for him to come up here, and again, that was at the request of Judge Linville, so we can offer DUI classes and assessments here inside Travis County instead of having to go somewhere else. And that was kind of a hurry up kind of thing. They thought they were gonna be starting in April, so we tried to move it along and get it in here, but they got put off again, so they were thinking sometime this month to get approval from the state to start offering those classes and assessments in the courthouse.
Mr. Gold?
I guess, bouncing back to something you said there, you said the election commission had voted not to move. Is that what I heard you say?
Yes.
So, I guess the question I'm asking for myself on this piece is, who has the authority to say you are moving here? Does the election commission have that authority to decide where they're gonna, what building they're gonna be in?
There's some question on that, but I'll also say it's better to go along with somebody than drag a kick and scream over here.
I'm not going to disagree with what you're saying. I'm just saying, that opens up a pretty wide window of things when you start letting people decide what they're going to.
What I have looked at, the TCA code on buildings and election, and there is, TCA code says that the county legislative body basically has control of the buildings, decides what buildings are built, where they're at, offices, things like that. In the election laws, it does seem, and it is what they're basing their decision on, seems to say that they can decide where they want to be. And if we, it does say that we have to provide them space, but then it goes on to say, I think it refers to if they're going to do other satellite places, but they're taking it that they can decide where they want to be. I actually made a call to Trey Hargett, and he sided with them and said, yeah, election commission can go out here and say, we want to be in this building, you gotta buy it. So I think that's wrong, but so there is some legal questions right now, but I'm on the same page as the mayor on this, that, if it's just that there's some things that you're afraid we're not gonna do before you move, let's get them fixed and assure them that that's gonna happen. We thought everybody was on board with this, and then all of a sudden, we get this curveball, I guess you'd say. And, but I think we can get it looked at.
Mine wasn't against that, mine was just, if a commission can decide where they want to be, that can
Well,
open up
this
some wild doors.
commission is not like most other commissions. This commission is entirely appointed by the state election commission. Their duties are set out by state law. Their pay is set out by state law. The only thing we have control over, and we really don't have control over this, is we pay for it. There was actually, after the last redistricting, they were actually suits filed against other election commissions, and a U.S. district court said they are state officials, not county officials. Because everything about how they work is set out by state law and controlled by the state.
Well, I'm disagreeing with you, just trying to get an
Well,
idea
I'm
of
just saying
where we're
that's kind of
going.
like where it is, and then you get into that thing again, they are, to me, they're state officials, because I've looked with it, I've dealt with it, I've seen it, I've read it numerous times. We have zero control over that body.
Other than we get to pay the bills. Make it good as everyone says, but they are a beastie unto their own.
Understood, I'm just,
Yes, and I mean totally to their own.
I will also say-
Like nothing else in state government. They are,
sounds like what they can choose where they want to be.
Well, this building does have one advantage from what we're in now, does not have, it has vaults. And going forward, we feel that there's probably gonna be some kind of requirement that there is a very secured place to store the voting machines, and we've got vaults. It also protects in case of natural disasters like a tornado. So I think there's some advantages here, if there's some of these other issues. I think they mentioned in an ADA report, there was an ADA assessment done on the courthouse as part of that lawsuit. I don't know if they realize that that lawsuit also addressed these ADA issues, and not only did the county address that, they had to through a settlement. And the plaintiff's lawyers had to sign off on it and say everything was done correctly, and they did that in 2010. That's where the ramp came in, changes to the bathrooms, other signage around the building, all that was done at that time. So my feeling is the ADA issues were addressed. Myself, Vicky, Howard, my assistant, who's also now our ADA coordinator, and Cliff, we all came in here, got out a tape measure and measured everything, and all the clearances and everything on the ramps and everything meet ADA requirements. We will go ahead and recommend, and we're going to try to do, it's actually in our ADA transition plan, to put a power door on the back, so we just got to install a system to open it up. But even that met the requirements. The only thing with the door is it has to be open under less than 5 pounds of pressure, and we can't get it adjusted down to under 5 pounds of pressure. So hitting that power door, it's very close, it's like 5.5, 6 pounds. But hitting that power door on there should address that issue. Other things is they want you to have lever top doorknobs on doors that they're going to be going into. However, when they come in the building, any door they're going to go into is already open throughout the day. So any of these other issues I feel have been addressed or in the process of being addressed are so very minor that to me they should be precluded if they want to move over here. It's just I would rather get their buy-in move over here rather than get into a fight with them, so they're gonna move and it just turns into a, no, I'm not, yes, I am, no, I'm not.
With you there, I'm just trying to catch the understanding of.
We feel like that the security issue of the voting machines and the votes and ballots has always been a big issue, but it's gonna be a bigger issue. And that's kind of the carrot, I guess you'd say, for us, is that we can assure that. And in this thing that they're saying, that they have, it says that we will provide them space in the courthouse or other government buildings. If you look at traditionally where election commissions are in the other counties, they're all in the courthouse. So I know this technically is no longer the courthouse, but in a way it still is the courthouse. So I think we can work it out. I think we're going to be able to get it worked out, talk to them. We're going to have to get it worked out. They're going to have to leave that building because we need the space for ag. In the governor's budget, they did approve for the smaller counties to get another ag agent. So we will be having another ag agent that we have nowhere to put them unless we set them in the hallway.
Why would they not want to leave that building?
Because they felt like we were telling them they had to and didn't ask you.
Do they pay anything on the bill?
No.
It's county's expense.
Nothing out of their budget pays electric, gas, nothing.
Nothing over
We're required under state law to furnish them on things. That's what he was referring to, we're required by state law to give them somewhere to go.
They pay everything for
Yeah, and that's why I said, the only thing we have to do with the election commission is they ask us to pay for it. But everything else about how it runs, everything else about that is set by state law or is controlled by the
We
state
don't
election
appoint
commission.
them. They're appointed by the state election, commission. Usually it's a recommendation of the state senator, by the majority party. And, of course, we had a big shakeup when the Republicans took over from the Democrats and got rid of a lot of election commissioners that probably shouldn't have been gotten rid of, just because they had assumed that they belonged to the other party when most of them were neutral. But that's history, and that's just an opinion that I shouldn't have even voiced. But anyway, that's where we're at with that. I think we can get that worked out, but we're gonna get this other. That's the good news, is we're getting this other ag agent, and it's gonna be paid for. It was supposed to have been done last year, and with COVID and everything, it kind of got held up.
I think we put it in our budget last year,
It
right?
was,
That's
it
what I thought.
was, yeah. We put it in the budget last year, back in the budget this year, same numbers. Except we do know that it is in the governor's budget, and it will be forthcoming. And I believe that position will start with the new budget here in July, if I remember correctly.
I got an email from Mr. Evans yesterday saying it's sometime late summer, early fall. And I will also say we are looking, trying to go back and do these improvements and stuff to the courthouse is not just tied to the election commission. This building is also the backup building for the administration building if it gets destroyed or something. So we're trying to make sure it gets up to standards, especially the technology and the access points for the internet and all that stuff. So we're trying to get that done, and we will have to run a simulation of that sometime this year. We're required to do that. So didn't happen last year, and everybody kind of gave you a pass because of COVID and everything. So we're gonna have to do that this year. So that's why we've been pushing to try to get the access points and all those things addressed.
Yes.
Is the administration building actually filling up, Mayor? Is it gonna sometime or another, some of it have to be moved?
There was a request that's not in the budget this time. Two of the officers asked for part-time help, given just the growth we've had. There's no space for them people in their current office. There was the thought that if the water utility builds their building and they move out, then the county clerk would move over to where the water utility was, because they want to access the drive-through, and then that would open up that space for some other people to come in. So there was some talk about moving people around if that happened, or if that happens and the water utility moves out. But yeah, it's filling up over there, just given the growth we've got and the amount of business that's come through.
That was my concern with it from the beginning. Was it large enough to take care of the needs of the county on and on? I doubt it then, I doubt it now.
I wasn't here for that discussion, so I'm not gonna say anything. I also will say that's probably something I've heard from another building we did around that time.
Yeah. Who's needing more here?
Right now, that would be Ms. Crowder. So the number of people that's coming in, needing new driver's plates and that stuff, just a wide range of things her office does. Day in and day out, her office is the one that's gonna need help the most.
A lot of times you're in there, they'll be lined out to go, you know.
I've seen it. Seen it.
And we've also looked at new systems and technology. Most people, you know, especially younger people, don't mind accessing services online. Her office does offer more services online. That really came in handy during COVID when it first hit. So there are some things we're looking there to try to help out and get that done. But like I said, day in and day out, hers is the busiest one.
Well,
Yeah.
has there been any improvement or anything done as far as a new jail?
We have established the County Corrections Partnership Committee that's working with Tennessee Corrections Institute right now. The County Technical Assistance Services jail consultant is doing a needs assessment for our jail to tell us how big a jail we need to be built. And I'm still waiting that report. Once I get that, we're gonna have another meeting in that County Corrections Partnership Committee and begin that process moving forward. The next step after getting the needs assessment is to hire an engineering firm to start assessing sites and look to see what size of facility we need to build. So right now, we're waiting on that needs assessment. I'm hoping it's gonna be close. I got some preliminary information, so I'm hoping sometime within the next month, we'll have that and to be able to have another meeting in that Corrections Partnership Committee and move forward. I will say, talking to the jail consultant, the committee we have right now, he's recommending we carry that forward in the future as a criminal justice committee, just to have some feedback from the stakeholders regarding how the criminal justice system works and whatnot. So he was very pleased with the committee we have in place right now, and the people we have on it. He thought we were very good, ahead of the game on that part. So he thought we were doing really well, and so I feel really good about it. But I will tell you right now, we're going to have to buy some land based on the initial feedback, because they said we're going to need at least 10 acres for any future expansion. We don't have anywhere right now that we have that's going to fit that. So we're probably gonna have to buy some land, and that's what we're gonna have to get the engineering firm to come in and let's start assessing sites. So, right now, I'm thinking you're looking at least $20 million for a jail.
They're expensive.
So we know how big we're gonna be, we don't know how much land we need, we can't go looking for land. But we know how much land we need. The catch 22.
Could it be anywhere in the county, or has to be in a certain area?
Gonna need to be on sewer, and preferably natural gas.
It needs to be somewhere near the town, and it needs to be somewhere where you have a lot of infrastructure already in place. So I feel that's probably gonna be, I think somewhere around 25, but we'll look at a bunch of different sites and see how they line out.
With this side, goes through.
Yeah, this side of the country.
Well,
Pretty much.
preferably. Anyone have anything else? Public comments? Mr. King, would you like to say something?
Yeah. Just since this is sort of a informal catch-up type meeting, I just wanted, since we have about half the commissioners present, wanted to kind of give you an update on where we were on the industrial development board. I say that because I'm excited, I'm energized by the activities that have been going on with industrial development this year and last year as well. We're gaining momentum, and we're endeavoring new things that probably have not ever been challenged before in an effort to help our community. I'll try to be brief and I won't go home, but we have we've engaged a firm out of Birmingham called Retail Strategies to act on our behalf and they basically lure and liaison businesses into our community, retail businesses. This is all designed as a way to broaden our economic tax base so that hopefully in the future we will be less likely to burden our property taxes every time we need something for the community. We're hoping that they're going to be able to, it'll take them a year or two to get some real momentum going, but they have generated basically a sales pack that we had a 2-hour meeting with them over that we're going through now before they turn it loose. But they've done laser focused data on this community. And if anyone would like to see that, please contact myself or the mayor or email it to you because it is fascinating. It's fascinating. Once it's ironed out, they say it's okay to turn it loose, we'll get it to you. The data is just outstanding what they tell you. So we're really, really excited about that, about the prospects in the future. That's something that's going to take a year or so before we really start to see some traction with it. But these folks partnered with the state of Tennessee to put on a convention every year in Nashville that the mayor and I have attended, and Mr. Knudsen have attended 2 or 3 times, and it is truly impressive. So we were really eager to follow up with these folks and hopefully get on their radar. We have, and we're really excited, really excited about that. Next thing is the Industrial Development Board is actively pursuing the policies and procedures and applications for pilot programs. Pilot programs, payment in lieu of tax program that would hopefully incentivize manufacturing businesses into our communities. Most all communities around us and in the state and basically in our country have these things in place. We want to get this ironed out. We have retained Bob Rochelle from Rochelle McCullough, ex-Senator Rochelle, who arguably is probably the smartest man in the state about pilot programs. So we're very fortunate to have him guide us through this process because it's a little bit overwhelming, but it's definitely a worthwhile endeavor to try to bring some manufacturing in our community, deal with some jobs. That's our main focus. We're having, but in my estimation, and I realize I haven't been here that long, but in my estimation, we're having a lot of activity with new businesses trying to locate here. There has been a project company that has put in a letter of intent on a piece of property at Powercom, and that letter of intent was approved to accept. Its status right this second, I can tell you, but I believe it's going to close fairly quickly, that all indications are good. This will be 3 manufacturing businesses that are completely American-based, and these businesses would potentially employ up to 25 people per business. It's one holding company that is putting together 3 different businesses. These folks, I've had multiple meetings with them, with the mayor and Mr. Jewell, and they're quite impressive people, and I think we'll be pretty lucky to have them here in our community. There's another business that is strongly considering relocating here, a manufacturing business that will also bring jobs, and I'm excited about these jobs personally, and trying to do everything that I can to bring them in the door, because they're high-paying blue-collar jobs. They're high-skilled blue-collar jobs. And I personally think that that's what our community needs most. Hopefully something that will tempt our seniors as they come out of school to stay in the county, work here, live here, and not leave the county for other jobs or other communities. Because if you get a real good job in Sumner County or Wilson County, you're subject to that moving there one day. I would like to keep our citizens here in the community. I would very much like to, and we discussed this briefly at the industrial development meeting, but I would very much like to kick around the idea of potentially doing another resolution with TCAT on potentially generating a course that is tailored for these 4 businesses, these 4 manufacturing businesses that are more than likely gonna land here because these folks are gonna need manpower, and they're gonna need manpower with skills. So with the dual enrollment program with Tri-State County High Schools, it's entirely possible that these seniors could walk out the door, already have college credits, take advantage of their Tennessee Promise scholarship at TCAP, walk out of there with skills and degrees that will keep them busy for a lifetime. Because when you're a machinist or something like that, you have a high skilled trade, you'll never be out of work. That is something that is recession proof. Everybody's going to have somebody manufacturing like that kind of skill, especially with the CAD drawings and computer generated software and those like that. So, a lot of people don't really keep up with what industrial development does, but I'm pretty excited about it, and I think we're making lots of strides, and hopefully it'll benefit our community going forward. So, yes, sir.
On May the 18th, we'll have an economic development committee meeting and want you to be a major part of the program to present what you just told us here.
Thank you very much. Great to see you. Thank you very much. I really would, and I want to tell you that I've had overwhelming support from many people in this room and many people in the community. Unbelievable help and guidance from people like Mr. Rochelle, the mayor, Mr. Jewell, the good folks out at Tennessee Central. Tell you, it's a good team, and everybody's really going in a good direction that excites me. Maybe that doesn't mean much, but it means something to me. I'm pretty excited about it. Yes, sir, Mr. Clay.
You said you got this deal made with these 3 factors coming in.
Pending, yes, but until,
Yeah, it's
pending,
possible.
very possible.
How much land's left out there after they purchase it?
I'm afraid I can't answer that question. I think this particular plot was about plus or minus 20 acres.
Let's see here, they bought 800 acres originally, they sold about 107 to Fort Civic. There's probably about another 10 to 15 that got sold to Christie's. This would be 20 acres. Almost that entire south campus, almost everything south of the prison is still available, so that's probably another 100 something plus acres.
Quite a bit,
Well, I don't know.
but it actually, where they're buying property is, if you go in on Trouser Way and you turn to Christie's, where the crooked around, and we had the recycle center for a while, they tore those buildings down. It's in that strip of property before you get up to the prison.
If you go out there, just about everything you see that looks like it's pad ready, there's either, as part of this deal to sell it, or there's somebody in mind that potentially is moving out there. So it looks like right now, the way they're moving along, they have very good prospects to have almost everything, every piece of available property north of the prison will be sold.
Well, also, there's a rumor going around town that Italian restaurant comes in Hartford. You know about that?
I've seen the sign in the window over here, but I was also got one, there was supposed to be something moving over there a year ago, so.
Well, I hadn't noticed the sign.
They're, trying to, no, this is going, board voted to sell the property.
Yeah, I knew that.
They're in that agreement. I was requested today to give them addresses on where the building will be. They wouldn't be trying to do that if they were really moving forward. I think it's gonna happen.
So I just wondered.
And they want it to happen quickly. I mean, once it's done, you will see it.
There's been a lot of surveys done out there, there's a lot of styles out there.
Yeah, they've already surveyed the property. It's pretty much on go. I'm not saying it couldn't be derailed. Anything can be derailed, but right now it's on go.
Yeah, I do know Gordon will turn them down. Back when, the reason they came here.
Right, because they were having to rezone farm property to industrial property.
And they wouldn't do it.
Right. It wasn't because of what they were doing, it was because of the rezoning issues of taking agricultural property and people around it didn't want it turned into an industrial park. It didn't matter what they was going in there, they just didn't want to change it. As my understanding that.
Yeah, it came up for a rezoning at the Gordonsville City Council, and I think it just got put off to the next meeting and killed at the next meeting, but ours, the way ours zone is, it's already zoned our highest industrial use. The only thing that's, under that, the zoning as it currently is, they can't go out there, some very weird things that you hardly ever see anyway. So, everything they're proposing to do out there is already part of the zoning and can go out there without a rezoning.
Zoning should not be an issue. They still have to go to the planning commission with site plan approval, but that's parking and things of that nature, basically. So I don't think it'd be an issue. Do we have anything else?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Have a motion to adjourn, a second from Mr. Gully. Mr. Ford, Mr. Gully, all in favor? Walk away. Next hour, we have, Parks and Rec. You're on that committee. If you're not, if you want to stay around, you're more than welcome to.
I need to get a committee one for the forest.
There's another on the backside of that. Here's a
I don't know if I can take this to the 911 board director. I need to see about getting some of the things in the park. Let me sign your name on it.
Yes, you all need first.
A map, property map, indicates what.
Today is fourth. Who you signed, Bubba Greer? I'd signed your name, but I didn't know if you signed Bubba or.
In the park, you mean, you like the pavilion?
I ain't been home.
I may have.
Did it hit your house?
I think